So recently, the World Economic Forum has come out with the prestigious report that is the Global Gender Gap Index. So ideally, the countries, they await this particular publication report as it accounts for their not only their human development index but also the success of their social programs which ideally they run in their nations. So in this session, we are going to talk about this global gender gap index. So first of all, we need to understand what is this gender gap. हम लोगों ने अपने schools में देखा है that the proportion of the male and females in the schools are quite, we can say it was a wide difference between the number of boys and number of girls in the school. And same, we've seen in the college and then in the offices when the number of males are more than the number of females. So this gender gap, however, it seems very normal to you, but it is not for many organizations in the world. So hi everyone, I am Nitika and today we're going to talk about this particular topic, and this is yet another episode in our series Bulldoze. So let's get started. So recently, the World Economic Forum has ranked India 135th out of 146 countries. So what happens is that World Economic Forum, it collects some of the key data across 146 nations in the world and then ranks according to the gender parity in these countries. So India's overall score, however, has improved from 0.625 in 2021 to 0.629, which is as compared to earlier years, it is considered to be the 7th highest score in the last 16 years. So as you can see that India's ranking, however, is 135th out of 146, which is fairly not at all good for India, especially when we are currently talking about women empowerment and startup business, women entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurship, self-help groups, helping females. So even after plenty of social programs which are currently running in the nation, and even after that such ranking, so definitely this is not at all a good sign for India's development index, right? So starting with what is the World Economic Forum and why this particular organization comes up with this report. So you must have heard about WEF every now and then in the newspapers, in the in the news, in some LinkedIn and social media platforms. WEF has been very active in the social media platforms. So it is an international organization which is based on the public-private cooperation, and even it was established in 1971 as a non-government foundation, and currently it is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. So most of the time you must have heard about the Davos, Switzerland and Davos summit. So ideally every year there is a large scale forum, which is business forum, which is conducted by WEF, and all the eminent personalities across the world, be it the politicians, the successful businessmen, the activists, environmentalists, so all of them, they come and attend this particular forum. So this summit is ideally every year, it is themed one after other, and on that particular theme the WEF always comes up with its report. So WEF ideally, it not only gives the one particular report like gender gap report, several other reports are also published by this particular organization. So one thing is very important from the exam point of view also, students. So all these organizations, they publish one or the other important reports which becomes the highlight for your competitive exams also. So ideally 2 types of question can be asked. One is related to the report, that which nation has been ranked the top, or which nation has been ranked at the bottom, and secondly, which organization published such report. So 2 type of questions can ideally be seen in any competitive exam, right? So now talking about what is the gender gap, as I had discussed earlier. So the gender gap is nothing but the difference between the men and women as reflected in the social, political, intellectual, cultural or economic attainments or attitudes. So when we talk that, in our country or in any particular country, out of 10 males, 7 or 8 males are graduated or they are placed, and on the other hand, out of 10 females, only 3 or 4 has been graduated. So this shows the gap in their literacy levels. So this gender gap can be seen not only in the literacy sector, but also in the cultural, in their economic sector, and in several other areas wherever you can find out. So let's just take a look at this report and how this report is being formed and what are the key dimensions. So this particular report, it benchmarks the countries on their progress towards the gender parity in the major 4 key dimensions. And these key dimensions, as it is mentioned here, are the economic participation and the opportunity. So this economic participation is the wealth accumulation, or the pay scales that you are getting, either you are working or not, what is the portion of your income which is going as an unpaid. So that is the economic participation. Then next is opportunity. Are you getting enough job opportunities or career opportunities in life or not? Then the next one and very important one is educational attainment. See, the career and education, they are of course directly proportional and interdependent on each other. If you will be educated, you may have of course chances of having a good career growth. And if you will get, of course, you are in the track of your good career, definitely you will strive to read or study more to excel or to get promotions in your organization. So educational attainment is another challenge in the world, where we've seen that the parents or even society is quite polarized towards not giving education to the females. Like we have one example of Islamic states. Most of the Islamic countries in the world, they prefer not to send, or they prefer not to educate their girl child. So we have one recent example of Afghanistan and its discriminatory policies towards the females. Then the third one is health and survival. So the access to health amenities and survival benefits is yet another challenge in many nations, and which is why it is being considered as a prime factor to be taken during the gender gap index. And the last but not the least, we have political empowerment. So political empowerment is the presence of the females in the ministerial positions, as ideally we see that even recently in India, everyone is talking about Madam Murmu, who is about to become, or she is going to take an oath as a president of India. Of course, the process is going on, and we are expecting that India will take such position where we can proudly say that yes, we have a female who is sitting atop at the most empowered seat of our nation, that is the head of the state. So political empowerment is very important, and maximum female participation is actually being sought in this particular publication. So let's just understand the global factors, or the global reports about it. So before that, let's jump to the India's performance in this. As you can see that in all these 4 dimensions, India as compared to 2021 has been ranked worse in few areas. For example, The gender gap index, of course, in 2021, India India is ranked in 2021 140. However, in 2022, it has ranked 135. However, it was out of 156 nations in 2021 and it is out of 146 nations in 2022. On the other hand, if we talk about the other four key areas, as far as political empowerment is concerned, India's, of course, performance has deteriorated in 2022. Then talking about economic participation, it has improved. Of course, it has gone up. As you can see, previously it was 0.326. Now it has gone up to 0.350. Then next, educational attainment, again, it has gone down by 0.001 pointer. And then last, health and survival, it has remained fairly the same, right? So this is an overall growth of India's performance or India's performance in the gender gap index. So the next one, so these are the global highlights, the global facts, which are again, which cite that overall in this ranking, Iceland is leading this prestigious report with 90.8% parity in the nation, followed by we have Finland, Norway and Sweden as some of the top rating countries in this particular report. However, one thing is that no nation is actually, pretty much close to the gender parity in the world, which ideally means that there are many countries where females are still not being given the rights or the position, the empowerment which they actually deserve. As far as India is concerned, it is ranked poorly among its neighbors and it is actually behind Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bhutan, and it is only Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan which are the worst performers than India in South Asia. Otherwise, if we see our neighbors, so they have performed quite well in this particular report. And even otherwise, this particular report, it states that it is fairly going to take 132 years to reach the gender parity with the current inequalities going on. So what does that mean? इसका ये मतलब है कि अपने वर्ल्ड को नियरली 132 इयर्स लग जाएंगे टू एक्चुअली रिड्यूस दिस गैप. ये जो गैप है बिटवीन द मेल्स एंड फीमेल्स इन 4 डिफरेंट डायमेंशंस, सो इस गैप को फिल करने में 132 इयर्स लग जाएंगे. So this is of course one of the sorrow state which every now and then we keep on missing or we keep on skipping about it, and हम सिर्फ policies की बात करते हैं and we actually do not take it very seriously, और हम इसको एक implementation stage पर लाके छोड़ देते हैं and we do not think about the outcomes, right? So, however, if we talk about the region-wise facts, so region-wise fact states that Northern America, it is the most advanced region in terms of closing this gender gap. So, North America में थोड़ा सा gender gap हम कह सकते हैं वो काफी close है. It means कि वो वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा कम है. Then followed by Europe, which is the second largest. Of course, it is ranking at the second in terms of closing the gender gap. So closing the gender gap means again here the gender parity is more as compared to any other region. Then third, we have the Latin America. So in the Latin America and the Caribbean, it ranks third amongst all the regions. And again, however, Latin America, as compared to previous years, it has performed quite, fairly at a very meager growth rate, we can see. But yes, it is still ranking at the third number. Then followed by this, we have Central Asian nations. So overall progress in the Central Asian region, it is closing the gender gap. However, it has remained unchanged from the last edition, that is 2021, and it is still standing at 69.1%. So overall, अगर हम बात करते हैं regions की और उनके gender gaps की, so we have seen that South Asia is actually ranking at the bottom. So जितनी भी South Asian countries को अगर मैं collectively देखूं, so it is actually ranked at the bottom as far as the region is concerned, and it is facing more gender gaps as compared to any other regions in the world, right? So this is again one thing which shows that yet we talk about South Asian nations, they are actually emerging economies and going higher and higher in the startup ecosystem, in the business, in the entrepreneurship, in the economic statistics. But yet, if we talk about the social variables, if we talk about the societal factors, like one, which is the gender disparity, so it is quite widened in the South Asian nations. However, I won't say that they are not trying to close it out, but still their efforts are not matching with the outcome. So definitely these nations need to think beyond what they were doing till 2021 or 2022 and need to be more robust and regressive and progressive about this particular topic. Then the next one is, if we talk about the gender gaps in the workforce. So of course we know that workforce is driven by this gender gaps, and the gender gaps is not only seen in in the literacy or in the healthcare, but also seen in the organizations. So firstly, talking about the labor markets or the gender gaps in the labor markets, of course post-COVID times or during the COVID times, we had one such report, which is the Oxfam report on inequality, which clearly stated that females are paid lesser than the males even for the same position. So which ideally means अगर एक मेल है एक फीमेल है, दोनों ही मैनेजरियल पोजीशन पे अगर रखे गए हैं, so females को मेल्स के कंपैरेटिवली 30% कम सैलरी मिलती है, right? And it is, I am not saying it, it is a report which is given by Oxfam International, and ideally even you can check this report. Again, very famous report given by this particular non-governmental organization, right? So speaking of the gender gaps in the labor market recovery, so again there are many workers, they remained in the workforce, labor workforce, and even we have seen that during the COVID times and the post-COVID times, the unemployment rate was higher amongst the females than the males, which again clearly shows that many employers, they prefer the males over the females. Then second, we have the gender gaps in the care work. So gender gaps in the care work, it means that ideally a man actually devotes less time to the unpaid services than a female, right? So even there is a data in it which actually shares that a man's share of the time which is spent on the unpaid work is merely 13%. So अगर कोई एक पर्सन है वो अपना जो टाइम पूरा टाइम है उसका केवल 13% जो प्रोपोर्शन है वो एक्चुअली में डिवोट करता है टू द अनपेड सर्विसेज और टू द केयर सर्विसेज. सो अनपेड सर्विसेज कैन बी लाइक कुकिंग एट होम or cleaning at home, doing the laundry, doing the dishes, taking care of your child. So this is all considered as the unpaid services. While on the contrary, if we see the same, if we applied same on the females, then this proportion go as high as 55%. So which means ideally एक female अपने पूरे प्रोडक्टिव टाइम का 55% टाइम जो है वो अनपेड सर्विसेज में डिवोट कर देती हैं, राइट? So this is again shows a care work gender gap And we talk about gender role clarities and gender disparities and gender parity on roles. हम gender roles की बात करते हैं कि cleaning तो सिर्फ female ही करती है या cooking तो सिर्फ female ही करती है. So I know there are lot of social media platforms. They are actually being vocal about it and vocal about ending the stereotypes of the gender roles in the nation as well as in the world, but still it is a far cry. Then thirdly, we talk about the gender gaps in the leadership by the industry. So yes, there are some industry where the females are actually taking the lead. For example, we talk about the well-being and personal care services, and even we have education member organizations where the participation of female is still considered to be the best. Personal wellness, even meditation, yoga, healing, and even if I talk about the uh, NGOs, that is non-governmental organizations. So in these three industries, we have seen majority of the female leadership coming up. However, there are some sectors where still the female leadership is actually next to worse. For example, we have manufacturing, infrastructure and energy sector. Then next, talking about the gender gaps in the political representation. So in political representation, there are more women in political leadership, which of course tends to create a more powerful role model, which affects as well as it actually impacts the decision in the broader aspect. For example, there is even a data which has came up with many nations where the females have actually ruled in these countries. For example, we have Germany, Dominica, Ireland, where the females have ruled in these countries for more than 10 years. And by ruling, I mean to say that they have, of course, these are democratic nations. So here by voting, they have actually elected their representative who is a female, right? So this is of course a positive sign where we see that there are some nations who actually accept a female as their whole soul representative. However, there are many other nations where still we haven't seen a single women representative at this national level. Then next we have the gender gaps in the wealth accumulation. So of course, we have seen that wealth accumulation is one such area where we see maximum number of males than the females, right? And the major factors, according to a survey, according to a data, the major factors being, of course, the financial literacy, the level of education, the unpaid, of course, or less paid income inequalities amongst the females, and even their maximum time giving to the unpaid services than the paid services. So these are some of the major areas where we found that why females are lagging behind the males in the wealth accumulation. And the last but not the least, we have the gaps in the stress level. So even a data highlights that nearly the stress level of females is higher than the males, and even it is reported that the stress was around 4% higher in the females than the males. And of course, you know, there are we talk about the depression and many other such mental illness, and it reports that females are actually having the maximum number of depression patients than the males. So this is one such report on the gender gaps in the workforce, right? So that is all for today, everyone. I hope you liked this video. So this was basically about the gender gap, and I really, from this video, I really want you all to be aware of this fact. If you are an employer or you are an employee, you are a student, or you are of course going to be a graduate or going to be a postgraduate. So this is one such video for to all of you, not only for the aspirants but to all of you, to please kindly enlist these issues and make sure that if anywhere you see any kind of disparity or discrimination going on against a female, please kindly report to that. Or you in your, of course, you know, in your home, charity begins at home, or you know, if you want to bring any changes in the society, first you start at your place and stop stereotyping the gender roles, and please make sure that you help or you equally support the female members in your family so that you can actually break this chain, right? So thank you so much for watching this video. If you really like this one, please share it to the other aspirants also, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Thank you so much, everyone.